In 1999, a brutal Hong Kong murder made headlines around the world. It came to be known as the Hello Kitty murder, and the facts of this case were so hard to believe, police weren't even sure if they were true. It began when 3 men and a teenage girl held young mother Fan Manyi hostage in a filthy apartment decorated with Hello Kitty merchandise. She was subjected to horrifying acts of torture and abuse for an entire month. After the young woman's death, her corpse was abused in unspeakable ways, making it impossible for law enforcement or medical experts to ever determine her exact cause of death. When the teenage girl who had witnessed and participated in the murder went to the Hong Kong authorities to confess, the police found the teenager's story unbelievable. However, when they searched the vile apartment for evidence to confirm the unimaginable account, they discovered indisputable and bone-chilling proof hidden in a giant Hello Kitty doll. The Hello Kitty manslaughter case and the killing of Fan Manyi provide a terrifying look into the depraved minds of 3 men and 1 teenage girl. On March 17, 1999, 3 members of the Triad, an organized crime syndicate in Hong Kong, abducted 23-year-old nightclub hostess, Fan Manyi. Before meeting her husband, moving in with him, and becoming a mother, she hung around with members of the Triad. During that time, she allegedly stole a wallet of one of the gangsters, which had $4,000 inside it. The wallet belonged to Chan Man Lok, a drug lord of Hong Kong. He wanted the money back with interest. He, along with 2 other gangsters, hatched a plan to kidnap the young mother and force her to work as a sex worker. Chan intended to take the money Fan made from sex work until he was repaid the amount she owed him. However, their disturbing plan quickly morphed into something even darker and more depraved. Chan enlisted the help of his fellow Triad members Xing and Wai Lung to abduct Fan from her home. They took her to Chan's apartment on Granville Road in Hong Kong. The apartment, which the 3 men shared, was furnished with lots of Hello Kitty products, including sheets, curtains, kitchenware, and a large stuffed toy of the popular cartoon character as a mermaid. However, soon after Fan entered the apartment, the trio abandoned the idea of forcing her into prostitution, and instead they began subjecting her to horrific and unrelenting torture. Fan was regularly assaulted and abused in increasingly sadistic and disturbing ways for approximately 1 month, and she never left the apartment alive. While Fan was being held against her will and tortured, 34-year-old Chan was dating a 13-year-old girl who regularly visited the Granville Road apartment. The teenager, who is known only as Ah Fong, not only witnessed the terrifying acts her boyfriend and his fellow gangsters inflicted upon Fan, she also participated in the abuse. According to Ah Fong, on one occasion she watched as Chan kicked Fan approximately 50 times, so she joined in by hitting the 23-year-old woman with her hand. The teenager also admitted to committing other acts of torture, and when she was questioned about her motives, she said, "I had a feeling it was for fun." In addition to hitting and kicking Fan, the men abused and tortured her by forcing her to consume human waste. Not only did the gang members urinate into her mouth, they also forced her to eat Chan's teenage girlfriend's feces. 3 men and Ah Fong tortured Fan by melting straws and dripping the scalding hot liquid plastic onto the soles of her feet. Ah Fong admitted to pouring chili oil onto the burns made by the melted plastic, causing Fan to experience excruciating pain. They also bound the young mother's wrists together with electrical wire and suspended her from the ceiling. Then, they beat Fan all over her body with metal pipes and table legs, until her head was covered in blood and her fingers were broken. After being subjected to sadistic torture for an entire month, Ah Fong allegedly discovered Fan was dead. While the 3 men later tried to argue she died after overdosing on methamphetamines, it's more likely she died from the many injuries she received while imprisoned in the Granville Road apartment, especially since she had reportedly been falling in and out of consciousness in the days leading up to her death. After finding Fan's dead body at some point in mid-April, the men placed her corpse in the bathtub and dismembered her with a saw. After cutting Fan's corpse in multiple pieces, the men decided to cook her remains to stop her body from decomposing and emitting the unique odor of rotting human flesh. They placed her body parts in a pot of boiling water on the stove, sometimes cooking her remains next to food they were preparing for dinner. Following Fan's death, Afong started to have nightmares about the sadistic torture she and the 3 gang members had inflicted upon the young mother. The 13-year-old also became convinced Fan's restless spirit was haunting her, and she felt the only way she could free herself from her ghost was to confess to the police. In May 1999, Afong went to the Hong Kong police station and told the authorities about Fan's month of suffering and her resulting death. Initially, officials found the teenager's account so disturbing and unbelievable, they nearly dismissed Afong's story as a bizarre fantasy. Hong Kong police officials searched the apartment. While the men had moved out of the flat, a number of belongings were left behind, including a large Hello Kitty mermaid doll. When they took the stuffed toy apart, they discovered Fan's severed head had been sewn inside the Hello Kitty doll. They also found a single tooth, which they were later able to connect to Fan, and on top of the canopy of a store located below the flat, officers recovered a bag containing her partially decomposed internal organs. With Afong's account of the crimes and the physical evidence recovered from the apartment, Hong Kong police arrested Chan, Xing, and Weiluan in connection with Fan's death. In the trial, they narrated their own version that they were simply running a brothel with Fan Manyi, and it was a mutual agreement. They said that Fan Manyi was a drug addict and she died because of a drug overdose. They also said that they did all this with her body as they were scared of being trapped. Unfortunately, due to the state of Fan Manyi's remaining body parts, the police and medical examiners were unable to determine a cause of death. As a result, the 3 were convicted not of murder, but manslaughter, as the jury believed that though they had caused her death, death was not the intent. The charge left Hong Kong's public reeling from the Hello Kitty murder, but the trio was sentenced to life in prison, with the possibility of parole after just 20 years. That brings us to the end of today's video. What do you think of this case? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section.